By early 1940, the brutal conflict known as the Winter War was reaching its final and most desperate stage. For more than 3 months, tiny Finland had resisted the overwhelming might of the Soviet Union in one of the most remarkable defensive struggles of the Second World War. Despite being vastly outnumbered in men, tanks, and aircraft, Finnish soldiers had stunned the world through determination, tactical skill, and mastery of winter warfare. Yet by March 1940, the tide of war had begun to shift, and Finland faced the painful reality that survival, not victory, had become its primary goal. The Winter War had begun on November 30th, 1939, when the Soviet Union invaded Finland after failed negotiations over territorial demands. Soviet leader Joseph Stalin sought to push Finland's border farther away from Leningrad, fearing foreign threats near the strategically important city. Finland refused Soviet demands for territory, and war followed. At first, Soviet planners expected a quick victory. The Red Army vastly outnumbered Finland and possessed superior firepower. Yet Finnish resistance proved unexpectedly fierce. Using ski troops, camouflage, and hit-and-run tactics in deep snow and forests, Finnish forces repeatedly defeated larger Soviet formations. The famous Madi tactics, surrounding and isolating enemy units, allowed Finland to inflict heavy casualties on Soviet troops unfamiliar with winter combat. For much of the war, Finland became a symbol of defiance. Around the world, many admired the Finnish army's ability to resist a superpower. Volunteers arrived from several countries, and international sympathy for Finland grew. However, sympathy alone could not overcome military reality. By February 1940, the Soviet Union adapted its strategy. After suffering enormous losses, the Red Army reorganized and committed far greater numbers of troops, tanks, artillery, and aircraft to the front. Soviet commanders improved coordination and concentrated attacks on the Karelian Isthmus, where Finland's strongest defenses, the Mannerheim Line, protected the path toward Helsinki. The final weeks of the war were devastating for Finland. Soviet artillery bombarded Finnish positions relentlessly, while fresh Soviet troops launched repeated assaults. The Mannerheim Line, long seen as Finland's key defensive barrier, began to crack under overwhelming pressure. Finnish soldiers fought fiercely but suffered from exhaustion, shortages of ammunition, and limited manpower. The situation grew increasingly desperate in February and early March. Soviet forces broke through major defensive positions and advanced deeper into Finnish territory. Leaders in Helsinki feared that if fighting continued, the Soviet Union might eventually occupy the entire country. Finland's military commanders warned that resistance could not be maintained much longer without catastrophic losses. Faced with grim choices, Finland entered peace negotiations. On March 13, 1940, the Moscow Peace Treaty officially ended the Winter War. The terms were harsh. Finland was forced to surrender significant territory, including parts of Karelia, the city of Viipuri, and land around Lake Ladoga. Approximately 400,000 Finnish civilians had to abandon their homes and relocate deeper into Finland. Although Finland lost territory, many Finns viewed survival itself as a victory. Against enormous odds, the country had preserved its independence. Unlike many smaller nations later occupied during World War II, Finland remained sovereign and maintained its political system. The Winter War also exposed weaknesses in the Soviet military. Poor leadership, heavy casualties, and early battlefield failures damaged the Soviet Union's international reputation. Some historians argue that Soviet struggles in Finland encouraged Adolf Hitler to underestimate Soviet military strength before launching Operation Barbarossa in 1941. For Finland, however, peace brought uncertainty rather than security. Resentment over territorial losses remained strong, and tensions with the Soviet Union continued. When Germany invaded the Soviet Union in 1941, Finland joined the conflict again in what became known as the Continuation War. The final days of the Winter War were marked by sacrifice, exhaustion, and painful compromise. Finland could not defeat the Soviet Union outright, but it achieved something remarkable: survival against overwhelming odds. Though forced to surrender land, Finland emerged from the conflict with its independence intact and a reputation for resilience that continues to inspire military history today.